The Book of Job, Chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. That man was perfect and upright, and one who feared God and turned aside from evil, and there were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, each one on his day, and they sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And when they had gone around the days of their feasting, Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings, according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts." So Job did always. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where do you come from?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, from walking up and down in it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you set your heart against my servant Job? Because there's none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one who fears God and turns away from evil." Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Hast thou not made a hedge around him, and around his house, and around all that he has, on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But put forth thy hand now, and touch all that he has, and he will curse thee to thy face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only do not put forth your hand upon him." And so Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Now there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And there came a messenger to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them, and the Sabaeans swooped down and took them away. Yea, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only have escaped alone to tell you." While he was still speaking, there also came another and said, "The fire of God has fallen from the heavens, and has burned up the sheep and the servants, and have destroyed them. And I only have escaped alone to tell you." And while he was still speaking, there also came another and said, "The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and swooped down upon the camels, and have carried them away. Yea, they have killed the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only have escaped alone to tell you." And while he was yet still speaking, there also came another and said, "Your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and behold, a great wind came from the wilderness, and struck the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead. And I only have escaped alone to tell you." Then Job arose and tore his robe, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground, and worshipped. And he said, "I came naked out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And in all of this Job did not sin, nor charge God foolishly. Job chapter 2. And there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, "Where do you come from?" And Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro in the earth, from walking up and down in it." And the Lord said unto Satan, "Have you set your heart against my servant Job, that there is none like him in all the earth, a perfect and upright man, one who fears God and turns away from evil? And still he is keeping hold of his integrity, although you moved me against him to destroy him without a cause? And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man has he will give for his life. Put forth thy hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, then he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, he is in your hand, but save his life. And so Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord, and struck Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot to the top of his head. And he took a broken piece of pottery to scrape himself with, and he sat down among the ashes. Then his wife said to him, Do you still hold to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, You speak as one of the foolish women speak. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God? And shall we not receive evil as well? And in all of this, Job did not sin with his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, each one came down from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamite, for they had met together to come to mourn with Job and to comfort him. And when they lifted up his eyes afar off and did not know him, they lifted up their voices and wept. And each one tore his robe, and they sprinkled dust upon their heads toward heaven. And so they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights. And no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Job chapter 3. Now after this Job opened his mouth and cursed his day, and Job spoke and said, Let the day perish in which I was born, and the night in which it was said, A man-child is conceived. Let that day be darkness. Let not God look upon it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death claim it. Let a cloud dwell upon it, let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not rejoice among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, that night let it be silent. And let no joyful voice come in it. Let those curse it who curse the day, who are ready to stir up Leviathan. Let the stars of its twilight be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it did not shut up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hide sorrow from my eyes. Why did I not give up the spirit when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees go before me? Or why the breasts that I should suck? For now I should have lain still and have been quiet. I should have slept. Then I would have been at rest with kings and wise men of the earth, who built ruins for themselves, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or as a hidden, untimely birth I would not have been, like infants who never saw the light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary are at rest. There the prisoners are at ease together. They hear not the voice of the slave-driver. The small and the great are there, and the slave is free from his master. Why is light given to him who is in misery, the life to the bitter who are bitter in soul, to those who long for death, but it does not come, and dig for it more than for hidden treasure, to those who rejoice exceedingly and are glad when they can find the grave? Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For my sighing comes before I eat, and my groanings are poured out like the waters. For the things which I greatly fear have come upon me, and that which I was afraid of has come to me. I was not in safety, nor did I have rest, nor was I quiet, yet trouble continues to come upon me. Chapter 4. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, If we try a word with you, will you be grieved? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Behold, you have instructed many, and you have made the weak hand strong. Your words have upheld him who was falling, and you have made strong the feeble knees. But now it has come upon you, and you faint. It touches you, and you are troubled. Is not your fear your hope? Is not your hope the uprightness of your ways? Remember, I pray you, whoever perisheth, who was innocent, or where were the righteous ever cut off? As I have seen the ones who plow iniquity and sow wickedness always reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils they are destroyed. The roar of the lion and the voice of the fierce lion and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The strong lion perishes for lack of prey, and the strong lion's cubs are scattered abroad. Now a thing was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a little of it, in thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men. Fear came upon me, and trembling which made all my bones shake. Then a spirit passed before my face, and the hair of my flesh stood up, and it stood still. But I could not tell the form of it. An image was before my eyes, and there was silence, and then I heard a voice. Shall a man who dies be more just than God? Shall a man be more pure than his Maker? Behold, he puts no trust in his servants, and his angels he charges with folly. How much less in those who live in the houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed before the moth. They are destroyed from morning till evening. They perish forever, without any one caring. Does not the loftiness which is in them go away? They die, even without wisdom.